Привет из Дубая. С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about sex and let's start with the definition.
Sex, this is a relationship usually between different genders with men and women. And, there is not too many species on the planet which could use or have sex almost daily. There is definitely mankind, there is dolphins, and maybe 10 more species. Usually, animals, they have sex when they are trying to continue their kind. But for our mankind, we have this like a pleasure. So sometime when you are young, you could have sex 2 or several time per day, even with different girls or different boys. And on some stage of life, it could be quite okay. But it is very pity when you trying to build on a sex your family. For example, you like to spend time in bed with a girl or with a boy, and then you decided to be married. And after 1 year, when you have at least one baby, suddenly you realize I have an emptiness in my heart, and I want to go to divorce. And a lot of people, they break marriage because they have nothing to do together. They have no projects, they have no same thoughts, they have different way of love. So when you have sex, you should know several rules. First, sex is more important for women because they should be protected. If you have sex, you have nothing, but the women could have a baby. So unprotected sex is very dangerous. Second, if you will be on strange territories, you could catch some kind of illness which will maybe with you for a whole life. There is a funny story in Russian. I will try to translate. It was a prof which came to the auditory and trying to start a lecture, and he was saying, I have a friend and we fall in love with the same girl, but she choose not me, and I have my nose, but my friend has a marriage. The joke was because if you have syphilis, I know how to say it in English. Is it okay? You
Exactly
could
the same.
you could be rotten, and it starts usually from nose. So if you will catch this disease, maybe you could lose your nose, your ears, and some other part of your body. And this is not a funny. If you will notice this in the late stages, maybe you will damage your body a lot.
And actually, when it comes to education as well, because like when I remember my childhood, it was some sort of like a taboo or like prohibited epic topic. So what should be the education, the structure of the education, and how it could happen like in the stages in order to, like to give the younger generation the good explanation of what is this, what are the functions, and maybe also give like a little room for exploration because, there's also like a hot blood and the hormones, etc. But what should be the basis?
Maxim, I don't know exactly. When I was at age, I don't know, maybe 14, suddenly on my table in the room appear several books about these relations and sex. So maybe my mother or maybe mother and father, they bought those books and put to me. But at this time, I was already informed by the street, and I don't want to read them, and maybe they were offended. But when I was working in Japan, I found sometime that my colleagues were buying books for children at age like 4 or 5, and usually I like to watch these books because they were not just with strange these hieroglyphs, but also with strange pictures. And one day, a colleague of mine, he bought for his son, like 4 years old, a book, and this is this part of the bodies, they were compared to some very understandable things. For example, woman's part was explained like a funnel, and the man's part was explained like, I don't know how to say, краник,
Crane.
like a crane. And there were a lot of pictures, and they were childish way. So there is Well, everything was understandable and very easy. For example, there is a special tank in the body of the man, as there were some small fishes, and when man will put this crane in the body of the funnel, these fishes will go to the to the to another body, and they will meet another fishes. And if these fishes will like each other, they will make like a ball, and this ball will grow. And in several stages, the fish will become an animal, animal will become a man, and this man will go out, and so on. And it was so easy and without any shame. I was astonished.
Well, and obviously, like when we speak about this topic, different people also might be thinking, okay, like when it's gonna happen with me, like what exactly should I do? And they would look like for any different things. But whether you should only be considering yourself or whether you only will be like what should be the decision-making process and what should be at least like the mindset. I do understand that like probably when it comes to this part of the like execution, there is like will be less mind and more like emotions. But what should be, as you rightfully always say, like it's better to always to prepare to something which you should have at least like in your head in order to like make sure like it will go well like for both parties.
There is a lot of tricks which will be published in men's magazine or in women's magazine, but anyway, any relations is unique, and what will happen in the bed is about two bodies. I have been reading for several years some very strange books about vagina, about penis, and so on. And I'm already grown up, but when I was reading about penis, this was a really fat book. I don't know, like 320 pages. Suddenly, I realized that I know nothing about it. And when I was reading about vagina, my wife even prohibited to me to make this I don't know summary, because she told me everyone would think that you are озабоченный.
Like overthinking. I think it's might be a good okay world.
Okay, maybe. But suddenly I also realized that she also know nothing, but she a doctor and she knows anatomy and so on. So maybe like 30 years ago, when I was working in Germany, suddenly I realized that we are people know nothing about ourselves, how to brush our teeth, how to breathe, how to run, how to go to bed, how to make sex even, how to play games. And for everything, you have an instruction. And if you read them, you will understand. But there is also a habits. For example, when I was in New Zealand, suddenly I realized that on this island, that it's quite usual to have an orgy. Orgy. And it's very funny. For example, it could be like several girls, like 2 to 5, and it could be like 5 to 10 men, and they will go and make everything all together. And if one man will couldn't end up with the girl for 30 seconds, every other man, they will laugh. And I was asking them, but why you will laugh? Because, for example, in our culture, everyone thinks that sex could contain like for, I don't know, 1 hour. And they were saying, but it's very easy. If you will go by yourself and you'll help with your hand, you will be finishing like in 1 minute. The same should be with girl. If you spend more time, maybe you are ill.
And when it comes to the functions as well, as I mentioned, yeah, it could be like an entertaining function, but I do believe one of my friends said that at the beginning, it's all about chemistry. Right after, it will be only pragmatism left. So I do believe sex also might be having like a different functions. Let's say it might be like a therapeutic or like anything else, like where you can, like just let yourself go and like go into something, whether it will be towards you or maybe you can put it to your partner. So what you should be thinking about like all of this function and whether what should be your role when you're trying to execute them.
There is 2 words you should you have in the memory: consequences. What will happen after you have a sex? There is a Russian singer. His name Sergei Shnurov, and sometimes he give a good explanation for very odd things. And he was asked, "What do you think about sex without condom?" And he told, to everyone, okay, what you will expect if you have unprotected sex? You will not have from this girl TV. You will have a baby. If you want to have a baby, you will have it. And there is, it was several advertisement from Durex. Durex is this company which is produce condoms. And first was they were selling like a set condom with a small car or condom with a small doll, and it was some written on the another side. If our condom will порвется,
ripped off.
If our condom will rip off, at least you will have a toy to give to your child. This was first. Second was another way. It was just photo of the car. It was glossy, but it was painted with markers, and it was saying, "Use Durex if you do not want to have a car like this." So you should understand the consequences could be not about baby. Sometimes you will give a hope. For example, you will be drunk, or maybe you are handsome and girl are ugly, or just opposite, and you will give a hope and you will break some person down. It was in my company. I was working one girl. She was short, she was slim, suddenly felt a love in my colleague who was very handsome and very rich. And after one night they break, and she was forced to go to a therapist to take some pills because she was depressed, and it's take her like for 2 years, one night compared to 2 years. And second, after consequences, you should also understand that there could be a lot of choices for you, but you should have criteria. Yes, this is about chemistry, this is about hormones, but anyway, this is a way how nature help us to find a couple. Sometimes very strange people which have opposite initiatives, opposite way of life, they create a good families. But from other side, sometimes people who read the books, conduct good behavior, suddenly they break through. It was very funny. I have another joke in Russian, something like this. Would you go to jump with parachute if you will know that the probability you will stay alive like 50%, and you will say no, but the marriage is like this. Usually you will have probability to live with person for more than 10 years, probability no more than 50%. And also there is a saying in Russian, you could have German car, you could have a Japanese computer, but everything will be behalved after you break the marriage.
Well, it's quite interesting. And actually, when it comes to your partner, like if you do have like any inconvenience, if you do have like anything to discuss, should you be like a telepathic person to try to predict certain things, like no matter what they are, or you should actually try it again, like as we mentioned in one of our previous podcasts, like if you see something or maybe you can foresee something, you should start to think why it happens or why it may happen, or you just like would have like an open conversation about certain aspects.
You could compare sex with water which is fallen from the crane. If you open the water, it will fall, and if you will think how to deal with it, better to close this crane down. The same with sex. You couldn't discuss something during sex. So this is about passion, this is about love, this is about bodies. But if you want to discuss something, better to do it before sex, but maybe sex would be cancelled, or after, and you will have a bad mood. But anyway, you should find a way to talk with your partner. I have been reading several books about sex, and suddenly I realized very, very strange things, that sex sometimes could be like misunderstanding, but some people likes very unusual way of sex. I don't know how to say it in Russian. For example, I was reading that a lot of people in America, they like asphyxiation. When someone take a scarf around their neck and make them breathe with a small portion of air. I don't know, but if someone like, you should find a partner who like it the same.
And my last question will be how knowing about sex could help to make this world a better place.
We should understand that no Maxim nor me would be appear on the world without sex. And yes, we are ashamed when we are asked by our children or by our nephews what is sex and how it works. But anyway, as grown up, we should know how to understand this without any shine, without any doubting things, and we should call everything in the right way, because we could create a very strange situation when our ancestors, последователи,
Ancestors.
they will stay on the street, they will know something in a dirty words, in a wrong ways, and maybe they will create bad поступки,
Actions.
bad actions. So it is better to prevent this.
А мы рассмотрели навык секс, чем он полезен именно вам, всем мира.